Hello everybody and welcome to my July podcast from Strasbourg. This will be the last of this year's parliamentary sessions. We have a recess during August here in the European Parliament and there's quite a lot of important things going on. This week we finally agreed the budget. You will remember that David Cameron was instrumental in negotiating a decrease in the budget for the first time. And that took place on February the 8th, and believe it or not, it's taken until July for us to agree it here in the European Parliament, but it's now done. I must stress, of course, that British Conservative MEPs voted for that reduction all the way through. Other parts of the Parliament were obstructing it. So we now have the budget in place, which means we've been able to finish a number of very important files, and I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the one that I've been most involved with, and that's the Common Agricultural Policy, which I'll refer to as CAP from now on. Common Agricultural Policy document was actually issued back in the end of 2011 and that was after a whole year of discussion about what it might contain. So in effect 2010. So we've had 3 years of negotiation, culminating in last week's rather mammoth negotiations in Luxembourg. One of the sessions was 22 hours. I have to say I didn't look too great at the end of that one. And we managed to get a deal. It's not a great deal for the UK in my view. It's much better than the original. We've certainly managed to really smooth out some of the new greening requirements. Not that I don't want to green, it's simply that we needed to have a way of doing it that had real benefit to the environment, but enabled farming to continue and wasn't going to create a huge administration. We've kind of got there, it's not perfect. But there are certain aspects of the proposal that we're not happy with and we will not vote for in Parliament. And those are around producer organisations, the power of the EU to intervene by setting prices and by holding stocks which in effect dictate prices and manipulate the market. So we've taken a very open economic stance on CAP this time. My main concern though of course has been to support English farmers, particularly my farmers in the southwest, by making sure that we have an even playing field with other EU countries. That's been very difficult to do, but I think we have a reasonable deal. It's now down to the government and our agriculture ministers to make sure that the way that they use the flexibility that we've been able to negotiate for them will not disadvantage English farmers, and perhaps more on that in the autumn when we see exactly what their proposals are going to be. Another another thing that I've been dealing with this week has been that dreadful fire at Birmingham. When I went to the airport on Monday, I could see the smoke plume right up into the sky, and it actually diverted my plane coming here to Strasbourg. So it's one of the biggest fires the UK's ever seen. And you'll all know, as you're followers of my blogs, that I've been campaigning against sky lanterns now, Chinese lanterns, for 2 years. And I was particularly struck when I visited a home in Wiltshire last year that had been razed to the ground, a thatched cottage where a sky lantern had landed. And of course the dangers to cattle and other livestock are well known. I was very disappointed earlier this year when DEFRA announced that they didn't think there was enough evidence to ban sky lanterns. You know, maybe 6 firefighters in hospital, 200 firefighters called out, and I think it's something like £10 million loss to the business might actually wake them up. And I've written to Theresa May as Home Secretary asking her to intervene because I believe this is an issue of safety. I'm not a party pooper. I like to have a good time as much as anyone else. And I can see the attraction of sky lanterns, particularly for memorials and celebrations like weddings. But we have to weigh that up against the potential damage that they can do. And you know, I did hear only this week that in parts of China the authorities are actually banning them too, for that very same reason. So perhaps it's something which has had its time. And in our world of urban sprawl, perhaps it's just not appropriate to use them. So anyway, on that, I'd like to sign off for this month. Thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to my summer, a few weeks off. I hope you all are too, so I wish you all very happy holidays, and I'll speak to you all again in September.